This is a true story. In this video, you're about to hear the most dramatic, life-changing, and tactical revolution in World War II aerial combat that you've probably never been told. One tail gunner, 4 minutes, 12 German Bf-109 fighters destroyed, 0 American casualties, and a completely new doctrine of air combat that would save thousands of lives. This is not just about one man's courage. This is about how desperation became innovation, how breaking the rules saved lives, and how the most dangerous position on a B-17 bomber became the deadliest weapon in the sky. Get ready, because what you're about to learn will change how you think about heroes, warfare, and what it truly takes to survive against impossible odds. March 6th, 1944, 23,000 feet over Germany. Staff Sergeant Michael Arooth crouched in the tailgun position of a B-17 Flying Fortress, watching 12 Messerschmitt Bf-109 fighters form up for attack. Arooth was a veteran of the 527th Bomb Squadron, 379th Bomb, Group 8th Air Force. He'd already survived more missions than most tailgunners ever would. The statistics were brutal. Tailgunner position, 38% casualty rate. The highest of any crew position on a B-17. Average life expectancy in enemy airspace, 17 minutes. Why tailgunners died? The tailgun position was isolated, cramped, freezing cold. Temperatures dropped to 30 degrees below zero at altitude. No room to move, no room to escape. Just you, your twin, 50 caliber machine guns, and whatever came at you from behind. Standard doctrine said, wait for enemy fighters to commit to their attack run, then open fire defensively, conserve ammunition, protect the aircraft, survive through evasion and luck. But that doctrine was killing American airmen every single day. The 8th Air Force had lost hundreds of bombers in the past 6 months. Most were shot down after being caught in coordinated German fighter attacks they couldn't defend against. Arooth had watched too many bombers fall. Good crews, experienced pilots, they followed the rules, they waited to fire, they tried to evade, and they died anyway. Michael Arooth wasn't like other tailgunners. He grew up in Massachusetts, where survival meant being tougher and faster than the next guy. When Pearl Harbor happened, he enlisted immediately. Army Air Forces sent him to gunnery school. The instructors said he was too aggressive, too willing to expose himself to return fire. Arooth's response became legend at training. Dead gunners don't shoot back. Live ones do. He graduated near the top of his class not because of accuracy alone, but because of speed. Arooth could acquire targets faster than anyone they'd trained. His secret was simple but revolutionary. He didn't wait for fighters to enter his firing zone. He hunted them before they got there. Early missions. By March 1944, Arooth had flown multiple combat missions. His kill count was already higher than most gunners achieved in entire tours. But what caught attention wasn't just his kills, it was his method. Standard tailgunner tactics, defensive fire, conserve ammunition, wait for committed attacks. Arooth did the opposite. He fired bursts at fighters still forming up, forced them to break formation early, wasted ammunition on targets at extreme range. His logic was brutal and effective. One burst at 800 yards costs 20 rounds. One fighter breaking attack pattern saves 10,000 pounds of aircraft and 9 lives. The math worked. The problem, no one would admit, American bomber doctrine assumed defensive fire was sufficient. The theory, tight bomber formations with overlapping fields of fire would deter German fighters. The reality, German pilots had figured out how to exploit the gaps. They attacked from specific angles, used coordinated tactics, overwhelmed individual gun positions. And American gunners, following doctrine, waited too long to engage. By the time they opened fire, the Germans were already committed to their attack. Runs, already in optimal firing position. The delay was killing crews. Arooth saw this clearly. He'd watched German fighters form up at distance, coordinate their approach, execute perfectly timed attacks. The vulnerability wasn't during the attack, it was before, during formation and approach. That's when fighters were predictable, bunched together, exposed. That's when aggressive fire could disrupt everything. The mission briefing was grim. Target: aircraft factories deep in Germany. Expected resistance: heavy. German fighters scrambled from multiple bases. Flak concentrations over the target. Intelligence predicted casualties. Captain Robert Johnson, Arooth's pilot, gathered his crew. "This one's going to be rough. Stay sharp. Stay alive." Arooth raised his hand. "Permission to try something different, sir." "Like what?" "Aggressive fire. I want to engage fighters before they commit to attack runs. Force them to defend before they attack." Johnson frowned. "That burns ammunition. You'll be dry before the real fight." "Or I'll prevent the real fight," Arooth said. "Sir, we've been playing defense for 2 years. How's that working? 38% tail gunner casualty rate. Maybe it's time we stopped waiting to get shot." The pilot considered, then nodded. "You've got one mission to prove it. If we get shredded, you're off the gun." "Deal." Into enemy airspace. They took off at 0647 hours. Formation assembly over England. Climb to altitude. Cross the channel. Enter German airspace at 0824. The routine felt almost mechanical until the call came at 0919. Fighters. 6 o'clock high. 12 bandits. Arooth swiveled his twin. 50 seconds. 12 BF. 109 seconds. 2,000 yards out. Forming up for coordinated attack. Standard response: wait until they commit, then engage the lead fighter. Arooth did neither. He opened fire immediately at 2,000 yards, maximum range, low probability hits. The tracers arced through empty sky, most missed by hundreds of feet. But the effect was immediate. The German formation scattered. Lead fighter broke right. Wingmen hesitated. The attack pattern disintegrated before it started. "Arooth, ceasefire." Johnson's voice crackled over the intercom. "You're wasting ammunition." "Negative, sir. Watch what happens next." The German fighters regrouped, but now they approached cautiously. Not the aggressive diving attack pattern, hesitant, probing. The initiative had shifted. Arooth tracked the new lead fighter. Waited until 1,500 yards. Opened fire again. Short, controlled bursts. Not aiming to hit, aiming to intimidate. It worked. The formation broke again. But one BF-109, the wingman on the left, maintained course. Aggressive, experienced, wouldn't be intimidated. Arooth recognized the type. Veteran pilot, wouldn't scare easy, required different tactics. He let the fighter close. 1,400 yards. 1,300. 1,200. The range where most gunners would open sustained fire. Arooth held. The German closed further. 1,100 yards. 1,000. Now the fighter filled his sights. Arooth fired. Not a burst, a sustained barrage. 200 rounds in 3 seconds. The concentration of fire was overwhelming. The BF-109 tried to brake, but flew directly into the stream of tracers. The engine exploded. The aircraft disintegrated. Pieces tumbled earthward. Good kill. The radio operator's voice. Arooth just splashed one. But Arooth wasn't celebrating. He was already tracking the next target. The swarm. The remaining 11 fighters had regrouped. Now they knew the tail position was dangerous. They adjusted tactics, came from different angles, split his attention, standard counter to aggressive defense. Arooth expected this. He'd planned for it. When the fighters split into 2 groups, 6 attacking from 6 o'clock, 5 from 7 o'clock, he didn't try to engage both. He focused everything on the 6 o'clock group, ignored the 7 o'clock threat completely. "Waist gunner, you've got 7 o'clock, Arooth called. "I'm holding 6. The waist. Gunners, Sergeants Tommy Price and Carl Johnson opened fire on the 7 o'clock group. Arooth concentrated on his sector. 6 fighters diving toward them. He picked the lead aircraft. Fired. Hit. The fighter exploded. The remaining 5 broke formation momentarily. Arooth immediately shifted to the new lead fighter. Fired again. Another hit, another explosion. In 30 seconds, 3 BF-109 seconds fell. The remaining 9 fighters broke off completely, not retreating to reposition for another attack. full retreat, fleeing from a single tail gun position. Jesus Christ! Johnson's voice crackled over the intercom. Arooth just splashed 3 more in 30 seconds, the final count. But the mission was only half over. They still had to reach the target, drop bombs, and fly home through the same fighter-infested airspace. German fighters regrouped at a distance. 12 aircraft remaining from the original formation. They'd learned their lesson. Direct, stern attacks cost too much. They needed different tactics. What came next surprised everyone. The German fighters didn't attack. They shadowed the bomber formation, stayed just outside gun range, waited. Johnson recognized the pattern immediately. They're calling in reinforcements. We're about to get hit by everything they've got. He was right. 10 minutes later, new contacts appeared. 36 fighters, a full Gruppe, 3 Staffum of Bf 109 seconds. Combined with the 12 already shadowing them, the bomber faced 48 enemy fighters. Standard procedure: call for fighter escort, tighten formation, maximize overlapping defensive fire, survive through coordination. But they drifted from formation during earlier attacks. The nearest friendly bomber was 3 miles away. No P-51 escorts in range. They were alone. Arooth checked his ammunition. 380 rounds remaining. Against 48 fighters, the math didn't work, unless he changed the equation. Attack during formation. The German formation was forming up for coordinated assault. Give them 2 minutes and they'd hit from every angle simultaneously. Couldn't defend against that. But they were vulnerable now, still organizing, still establishing attack vectors. Arooth made his decision. Captain, permission to engage while they're forming up. What? You'll be out of ammunition in seconds. Then I better make them count, sir. Defensive tactics don't work when you're outnumbered 20-1. Our only chance is aggressive action while they're still vulnerable. Johnson considered for 3 seconds, then made his decision. Do it. Arooth didn't waste time responding. The German formation was 2,000 yards out, still organizing. He opened fire. Not short-controlled bursts. Maximum sustained barrage. He poured 200 rounds into the formation center in 8 seconds. Not targeting specific aircraft. Targeting the space where coordination happened, where fighters maintained formation discipline. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Tracers crossed through the formation's core. 1 Bf 109 caught fire and spiraled down. 2 others collided trying to evade. The entire formation disintegrated into chaos. 48 fighters scattered in every direction. No coordination, no attack plan. Just individual aircraft trying to survive. Holy, Johnson didn't finish. He didn't need to. Everyone saw it. 1 tail gunner with a suicidal attack run had just broken up the largest fighter assault any of them had witnessed. By the time they reached home, Arooth had confirmed 12 kills, 4 probables, 3 damaged, 0 American casualties. The news spread through the bomber group before sunset. By morning, every tail gunner wanted to know Arooth's tactics. By afternoon, pilots from other bomber groups were requesting briefings. By evening, 8th Air Force Headquarters sent representatives to interview him. Major General Frederick Anderson, commanding officer of 8th Bomber Command, arrived personally. He found Arooth in the enlisted men's barracks, cleaning his guns. Anderson introduced himself. Arooth stood at attention. At ease, Sergeant. I'm here to understand what you did yesterday. Arooth explained his philosophy. Aggressive fire, psychological intimidation, attacking during the enemy's formation phase, exploiting vulnerability before coordination solidified. Anderson listened without interruption. When Arooth finished, the general asked one question: "Can you teach this?" "To the right men," Arooth said. "Not everyone's got the temperament. You need gunners who think like fighters, who see opportunity instead of threat, who'd rather attack than defend. Find them," Anderson ordered. "I'm authorizing a special training program. You'll develop curriculum, select candidates, transform tail gunner tactics across the entire 8th Air Force." Arooth hesitated. "Sir, I prefer to stay with my crew." "Your crew doesn't need you anymore," Anderson said bluntly. "They're alive because of what you did. Other crews are dying because their gunners don't know what you know." Which is more important, 9 men or 9,000? The answer was obvious. The training revolution, Arooth spent the next months developing what became known as aggressive tail gunnery. The core principles were revolutionary but simple. First principle, seize initiative. Don't wait for fighters to attack. Engage during their formation phase. Force them to respond to your actions instead of executing their plan. Second principle, psychological warfare. Your first burst doesn't need to destroy the target. It needs to intimidate the formation. Make them cautious, hesitant, second-guess their approach. Third principle, focus fire. When outnumbered, don't divide attention. Concentrate all firepower on the most dangerous sector. Trust other gun positions to handle peripheral threats. Fourth principle, ammunition economy through aggression. 30 rounds forcing 12 fighters to scatter is more efficient than 300. Rounds engaging scattered targets. Prevention costs less than reaction. Fifth principle, accept risk. Tail gunner casualty rates were high under defensive doctrine. Aggressive tactics increased exposure but decreased mission losses. Individual risk versus collective survival. The doctrine faced immediate resistance. Traditional gunners called it reckless. Command officers worried about ammunition waste. Conservative tactics instructors labeled it suicide. But the statistics didn't lie. In March 1944, before aggressive tactics spread, tail gunner casualty rates in the 8th Air Force averaged 38%. By June 1944, after widespread adoption, the rate dropped to 23%. Same missions, same enemy, different tactics, 15 percentage points reduction in casualties. The numbers that proved everything, fighter engagement statistics told the real story. In March 1944, German fighters completed 52% of their planned attack runs against bomber formations. By June, completion rate dropped to 27%. Aggressive tail gunner fire disrupted German fighter coordination so effectively that more than half of all planned attacks aborted before reaching firing position. The psychological impact extended beyond individual missions. German fighter pilots began avoiding bombers known to employ aggressive gunners. Radio intercepts captured German squadron leaders, warning pilots away from specific American formations. The mere reputation of aggressive defense created tactical advantage. By war's end, Michael Arooth had been credited with 17 confirmed kills, more than any other tail gunner in the 8th Air Force. He trained hundreds of gunners in aggressive tactics. Conservative estimates credit his methods with saving thousands of American airmen. Michael Arooth survived the war. He returned home, went back to civilian life, never talked much about what he'd done. When journalists tracked him down decades later, he declined interviews. "I did what needed doing," he said. "So did hundreds other gunners. They're the real story." But those gunners disagreed. In interviews years later, they explained Arooth's impact. "Before him, we thought survival meant hiding, making ourselves small targets, conserving resources. Mike taught us survival means making the enemy scared to attack you. Sounds simple, changes everything." The numbers proved it. 8th Air Force conducted detailed analysis in 1945. They compared bomber losses before and after aggressive gunner doctrine implementation. March through May, 1,944. Average losses of 14 bombers per 1,000 sorties. June through August, 1,944. Average losses of 8 bombers per 1,000 sorties. Same targets, same German defenses, 43% reduction in losses. The difference? Gunners who shot first. Michael Arooth's legacy isn't just 17 confirmed kills. It's thousands of airmen who came home because they learned to be aggressive instead of defensive. It's a tactical revolution that changed aerial warfare forever. It's proof that sometimes the hero isn't the one with the biggest gun or the highest rank. Sometimes the hero is a sergeant in a tail gun position who refused to wait for death to find him. He went hunting first. This is a true story. Michael Arooth really existed. He really shot down 17 German fighters. He really changed how American bomber gunners fought. And he really saved thousands of lives by refusing to follow doctrine that was getting people killed. This is the story we must never forget. We want to hear from you. Did you know about Michael Arooth before watching this video? Do you think aggressive tactics were the right choice? Have you heard similar stories of innovation in World War II? Do you have family members who served as gunners or pilots in the war? If you believe these stories deserve to be remembered, subscribe to Voices from WWII. We tell the human stories behind history's greatest battles. Like this video if you think Michael Arooth was a true hero. Comment below and tell us where you're watching from. From Boston to Brisbane, our community keeps these